Lesser-known tune from The Doors. That one's called Hyacinth House from the LP L.A. Woman. Good morning, Vaqueros. This is DJ Doc V. You're listening to Office Hours. It is Friday, March 8th, and it's about 10:03 in the morning. We'll be here with you for the next 60 minutes with Office Hours. Got some great tunes picked out for you today. Definitely, this list is gonna be getting the thumbs up from my friend Steve out in Spokane, especially the first half of the show. I think he's going to enjoy it very much. Make sure you're wearing a helmet just in case you want to bang your head a little bit too much against the wall. We got spring break coming up, so fans of the show, please know that there's no office hours next week on Friday. The campus is still, well, I know it's disappointing, but enjoy the time off and the time away. And for all the vaqueros that are going to be heading out, traveling over this spring break, make sure that you stay safe, be wise, be safe, be sane. It's always great to get a little break in the middle of the semester. Lots of empty seats in classrooms, unfortunately. You're seeing that too? Yeah. Look, college is hard. If it wasn't, everyone would do it, right? So those of you that made it this far and that are still plugging away, give yourself a little bit of encouragement there, that you're sticking, keep your nose to the grindstone, you're sticking with it. There is a light at the end of the tunnel, right? Light at the end of the tunnel. So I'm going to play a double shot here, and we're going to, it's from the Minutemen. Not necessarily a band that, it's certainly well known in certain circles. We're talking early 1980s, the early punk scene in California. They were formed in San Pedro, composed of guitarist vocalist Dee Boone, bassist and vocalist Mike Watt, and drummer George Hurley. They recorded 4 albums and 8 EPs before Boone's untimely death in an automobile accident in 1985. The band broke up shortly thereafter. If you're a fan of the TV show, the MTV show Jackass, you'll recognize the theme to that show is a Minutemen song called Corona. But we're going to listen to a couple of different ones that are on their seminal record, Double Nickels on the Dime. This is the Minutemen, and first we're going to hear a song called Vietnam. Here's the Minutemen, only on Vaquero Radio, the Valley's student station. That's the band Helmet from the Betty LP, released in 1994. A song called Clean, only on Vaquero Radio, the Valley's student station. Before that, you heard Dead Kennedys with I Fought the Law, their version of that. That's a fun one. Rather than Southern California punk, we're talking Northern California punk, San Francisco Bay Area. And, no matter what, there's always room for Jell-O. That's right, baby. We started off that set with Husker Du from their New Day Rising LP. That one was called I Apologize, only on Vaquero Radio. As we do every week on Office Hours, I've got This Day in History picked out for you. And on March 8th, 1917, the February Revolution begins, leading to the end of Tsarist rule in Russia. In Russia, the February Revolution, known as such because of Russia's use of the Julian calendar, begins on March 8th, 1917, when riots and strikes over the scarcity of food erupt in Petrograd. 1 week later, centuries of Tsarist rule in Russia ended with the abdication of Nicholas II, and Russia took a dramatic step closer toward communist revolution. By 1917, most Russians had lost faith in the leadership ability of the Tsarist regime. Government corruption was rampant, the Russian economy remained backward, and Nicholas repeatedly dissolved the Duma, the Russian parliament, established after the Revolution of 1905, when it opposed his will. However, the immediate cause of the February Revolution, the first phase of the Russian Revolution of 1917, was Russia's disastrous involvement in World War I. Militarily, Imperial Russia was no match for industrialized Germany, and Russian casualties were greater than those sustained by any nation in any previous war. Meanwhile, the economy was hopelessly disrupted by the costly war effort, and moderates joined Russian radical elements in calling for the overthrow of the Tsar. On March 8, 1917, demonstrators clamoring for bread took to the streets in the Russian capital of Petrograd, now known as St. Petersburg. Supported by 90,000 men and women on strike, the protesters clashed with police but refused to leave the streets. On March 10th, the strike spread among all of Petrograd's workers, and irate mobs of workers destroyed police stations. Several factories elected deputies to the Petrograd Soviet, or Council of Workers' Committees, following the model devised during the Revolution of 1905. On March 11th, the troops of the Petrograd Army garrison were called out to quell the uprising. In some encounters, regiments opened fire, killing demonstrators, but the protesters kept the streets, and the troops began to waver. That day, Nicholas again dissolved the Duma. On March the 12th, the revolution triumphed, when regiment after regiment of the Petrograd garrison defected to the side and the cause of the demonstrators. The soldiers, some 150,000 men, subsequently formed committees that elected deputies to the Petrograd Soviet. So that was in 1917. Also on this day in history, Malaysia Airlines flight vanishes with more than 200 people aboard. That was in 2014. In 1957, Egypt opens the Suez Canal, leading from the Red Sea into the Mediterranean Sea. In 1965, U.S. Marines land at Da Nang in Vietnam. In 1971, Ali battles Frazier in the fight of the century for the heavyweight championship. And finally, we got to talk about this one. This is actually very, very important, very classic in history. We can't forget this. I think this is part of our institutional memory as people, as citizens, as stakeholders in American democracy. That's right. In 1993, Beavis and Butthead premieres on MTV. Music Television airs the first episode of the animated series Beavis and Butthead, which will go on to be the network's highest-rated series up to that point. Got to do a little Beavis and Butthead, right? It's 78 degrees there in the upper Rio Grande Valley and hazy skies. We're looking at an afternoon high of 89 degrees. And looks like for the rest of the weekend, it's going to be high tomorrow of 74. It's going to drop a little bit there. Sunday, 73. Monday, 78 and a slight chance of rain with mostly cloudy skies. And then on Tuesday, the 12th, 82 degrees. For those who are going to be staying in the RGV over the spring break, there's lots of stuff going on. In fact, tonight, the Rio Grande Valley Vipers are playing the Windy City Bulls at Bert Ogden Arena. That's at 7:30. And then tomorrow night, Ice Cube, the rapper, will be down in, it says McAllen, but I thought he'd be in Hidalgo. I thought there was any, where does it say here? Payne Arena, Hidalgo, Texas, part of the Kings of the West tour, or festival, I guess. It's today and tomorrow. Also, this week, coming up, is, let's see here, the Rock and Roll Jam with the Esquires. That's at Paradise Park on the 12th, back in McAllen on Hackberry Avenue. And then the RGV Vipers welcome the Ontario Clippers to the Bert Ogden Arena on Thursday, the 14th, at 7:30 here in Edinburgh. And then they play them again on the 16th as well. And then on the 19th, the Austin Spurs come to town to play the Vipers at Bert Ogden. So plenty of stuff going around in the upper Rio Grande Valley. Of course, spring break down on the island. What's that going to look like this week? That'll be interesting. So to see what turns out there. But for now, let's get back to the music. We're going to take it down a notch. That first half hour, lots of high beats per minute. The Minutemen, for example, 160 beats per minute in that song. We're going to slow it down just a tad with only 121 beats per minute. But this one is Brendan Perry with The Captive Heart. This is an in-studio performance from the KCRW Rare on Air compilation, a CD that I discovered by checking it out of a public library in St. Paul, Minnesota. So here's Brendan Perry, with the Captive Heart, only on Vaquero Radio, the Valley's student station. Whoa, that one ended quick. Oh boy, Pink Floyd there from the 1973 supremely popular hit, Dark Side of the Moon. That's the one that put Pink Floyd on the map, for sure. It's a song called Us and Them. Sitting at 7 minutes and 49 seconds, the longest song on that record. When it was released as a single, the B-side was the song Time from the same LP. The Dark Side of the Moon peaked in the United States at number 72 on the Cashbox 100 Top Singles chart in March of 1974, the Us and Them single. And that single peaked at number 85 on the Canadian chart. Music written by Richard Wright, the keyboardist, and Roger Waters, with lyrics also by Waters. It is sung largely by Gilmour, with some harmonies by Wright. And there's some fun little spoken word parts in there. The following dialogue by the band's roadie, Roger the Hat Manifold, which is one of his two spoken segments on the album, is heard before the second saxophone solo. Did you pick this one up? Here's the quote. Well, I mean, they're not going to kill you, so like if you give them a quick, short, sharp shock, they don't do it again. Dig it? I mean, he got off light, because I could have given him a thrashing, but I only hit him once. It's only the difference between right and wrong, innit? I mean, good manners don't cost nothing, do they, eh? Lots of fun stuff in there. And then at the early part, and I've become such a Pink Floyd fan, so I was reciting part of the earlier spoken word part where the guy says, I don't know, I was really drunk at the time, and the folks in the studio here looked at me like I had two heads. So it's on the record, you guys. It's on the record. Thanks for tuning in to Vaqueros. This is DJ Doc V. Last few minutes of office hours here. Let's give a quick check of the weather. 78 degrees with hazy skies here in the upper Rio Grande Valley. 47 degrees and sunny skies in Westport, Massachusetts. 51 degrees in Oklahoma City. 30 degrees in Spokane, Washington, and 41 degrees in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I'm going to be visiting there over spring break, so I'm really excited about visiting Albuquerque. I'm a big Breaking Bad fan, so I think I'll do a little pilgrimage to the Holy Land of Breaking Bad there. So, as we do every week on Office Hours, I've got a great poem picked out for you. This one is from the Gallery Magazine, the 2018 edition. It's a poem by Conan Martinez titled Resist. Quote, I hear them calling to me, whispering my shame. End quote. Have you ever seen anyone cry? Have you ever seen the sadness envelop a face so twisted and broken it breaks your heart wide open, knowing full well all they want to do is die? Have you ever had to comfort a lost soul? You know the struggles of life have taken their toll. They become the walking dead, a living, breathing corpse that only wants nothing but to go back to bed. They laugh with you and joke, take a little smoke, but in the back of their mind they can't unwind. They look at the knife in their hands, no one understands. They look at the noose calling to them, why don't you let loose? The pills scream for attention, promising love and ascension. The gun, it calls your name, whispers sweet nothings and says you're not to blame. I can hear them calling to me, whispering my shame, promising glory and fame. I put on my headphones and go on my way. Live to fight another day. That's a poem called Resist by Conan Martinez from the 2018 edition of Gallery Magazine, another fine product of UTRGV student media. Just a few minutes left. Let's end this with Little Steely Dan. Thanks for tuning in, Vaqueros. Have a great spring break. This one's called Any Major Dude Will Tell You. Only on Vaquero Radio, the Valley's student station.